को साथ लेकर जीती जा सकती है। उन्होंने दिल्ली पुलिस की तारीफ करते हुए कहा कि कल एम्स में प्लाज्मा बैंक में प्लाज्मा अतिया करके दिल्ली पुलिस ने मिसाल पेश की है। पूरी दुनिया में कोरोना वायरस का खतरा मुसलसल बढ़ता जा रहा है। इस वायरस को दस्तक दिए 6 माह से ज्यादा का अरसा गुजर चुका है, लेकिन फिर भी ये वायरस खत्म होने का नाम नहीं ले रहा है। नाइजीरिया के वजीर खारजा जॉफ्री ओनियोमा को भी कोरोना से मुतासर पाया गया है। अब तक नाइजीरिया में कोरोना के 36,600 से ज्यादा केस रिपोर्ट हुए हैं, जबकि 779 अफराद की मौत हो चुकी है। उत्तराखंड के पिथौरागढ़ में मुसलसल बारिश की वजह से नदी की आबी सतह में इजाफा हो गया है। कल रात जिला देर रात बादल फटने से 3 अफराद की मौत हो गई थी और 11 अफराद लापता बताए जा रहे हैं। इंतजामिया लापता अफराद को तलाशने के काम में मसरूफ है। महकमे मौसमियात ने उत्तराखंड में आज और कल के लिए ऑरेंज अलर्ट जारी किया है। वहीं आसाम में सैलाब की सूरत हाल काफी संगीन है, लेकिन गुज़िश्ता 24 घंटों में कुछ नदियों की आबी सतह में कमी आई है। सैलाब की वजह से मजीद 5 अफराद की मौत के साथ मरने वालों की तादाद 84 हो गई है। मिट्टी के तोदे गिरने की वजह से आसाम में इस साल 24 अफराद की मौत के साथ मरने वालों की कुल तादाद 110 हो गई है। आसाम में सैलाब से 24 अजला के 2400 गांव मुतासिर हैं। 8 अजला में कई मकामात पर नदियां खतरे के निशान से ऊपर बह रही हैं और तकरीबन 1,12,000 हेक्टेयर ज़रई अराजी ज़ेरे आब है। वज़ीर आला सोनोवाल ने आसाम के सैलाब और कटाव से मुतालिक मसाइल के हल के लिए नीति आयोग के डिप्टी चेयरमैन की क़यादत में आला सतही कमेटी तश्कील देने के लिए वज़ीर आज़म का शुक्रिया अदा किया है। गुवाहाटी के इलाकाई मौसम मरकज़ ने शुमाल मशरक़ी भारत में बारिश का इम्कान जाहिर किया है, जिसका सैलाब की सूरत हाल पर भी असर पड़ेगा।
केंद्रीय सरकार, राज्य सरकार, दोनों सरकार मिलकर आज इस संकट परिस्थितियों का साथ असम की जनताओं को मुकाबला करने के लिए हम लोग मदद देते आए हैं। असम की बाढ़ और भूकटाव ने इस बार काफी नुकसान किया है और कुल मिला के 70 लाख लोग इस नुकसान का सामना करना पड़ा है। असम सरकार की तरफ से रिलीफ कैंप में फूड आइटम जनता को देना, बच्चों का और बुजुर्गों का ख्याल रखना, सारी चीजों पर निष्ठा से असम सरकार लगी हुई है।
और बिहार के 8 अजला में सैलाब की सूरत हाल संगीन है। कल कई मकामात पर हल्की से शदीद बारिश की वजह से अहम नदियां खतरे के निशान से ऊपर बह रही हैं। सीतामढ़ी में बागमती और अधूरा नदी खतरे के निशान से ऊपर है। समस्तीपुर में बूढ़ी गंडक खतरे के निशान से ऊपर बह रही है, जबकि कमला बलान मधुबनी में खतरे के निशान से ऊपर बह रही है। पूर्णिया में महानंदा नदी खतरे के निशान से ऊपर है। चेल्सी की टीम FA कप के फाइनल में पहुंच गई है, जहां टीम का मुकाबला 1 अगस्त को आर्सेनल से होगा। इतवार को वेम्बले में खेले गए दूसरे सेमीफाइनल मुकाबले में चेल्सी ने मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड को 3-1 से शिकस्त दी है। चेल्सी ने 14वीं बार FA कप के फाइनल में जगह बनाई है। इसी के साथ ही खबरनामा खत्म पजीर होता है। इजाजत दीजिए। आदाब।
हमारी आज की तेजस्विनी एक ऐसी महिला है जिन्होंने पुरुष प्रधान माने जाने वाले क्षेत्र में न केवल कदम रखा बल्कि अपनी क्षमता की धमक भी दर्ज करा। एक व्यवसायी के तौर पर क्या महिला या पुरुष होना कोई मायने रखता है?
जो महिलाएं अगर आगे बढ़ना चाहती है तो उन्होंने अपना खुद का जो स्ट्रेंथ है उसे बढ़ाना चाहिए, ना कि हमारी जो वीकनेसेस है उसके ऊपर फोकस करना चाहिए।
आप खुद अपने आप को किस तरह देखती हैं?
व्हाटएवर आई डू मैं फुल कमिटमेंट के तौर पे देखती हूँ, चाहे वो प्रोफेशनल लाइफ हो, चाहे वो पर्सनल लाइफ हो, चाहे वो फैमिली मैटर्स हो, चाहे माय ओन पर्सनल हेल्थ हो, पूरा कमिटमेंट लेके मैं चलती हूँ।
Namaskar, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to this special presentation. Now, we know that COVID-19 pandemic has affected every aspect of our lives. Now, they say that the virus is here to stay. In that case, life must also find a way to move forward. We all will need to adapt to these new circumstances, to this new normal. Let's talk about the higher education sector. Now, we know students in the past few months of the lockdown, they were mostly at home. Online education became a mainstream alternative to take the learning process further. Now we know that evaluation is also an important part of our education system. So we're also talking about online examinations as they're taking place in different universities. And at regular intervals, Ministry of HRD and UGC have also been issuing guidelines regarding the same. Let's look at some of the updates that had come in. Response received from universities with regard to conduct of examinations as per UGC guidelines. But this is as on 18th July 2020. Revised guidelines were issued by the UGC on 6th July 2020 on conduct of examination in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. Universities were approached to inform the status of the conduct of examination of the total 945 universities. Response were received from some 755 universities. This includes 120 deemed universities, 274 private universities, 40 central universities, and 321 state universities. Of the 755 universities, 560 universities have either conducted the examination or are planning to conduct it. If you look at the details, 194 universities have already conducted examination, the combination of online and offline mode. 366 universities are planning to conduct examination online or offline in a blended mode by August-September this year. In case of 27 private universities which were established during 2019-20 to till date, the first batch is yet to become eligible for final examination. And talking about National Capital Delhi, that is also a higher education hub of the country, examination have already been conducted online in Delhi in Bharat Ratna Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, Delhi Technological University, Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women, Indraprastha Institute of Information and Technology, National Law University, and talking about, for instance, Delhi University in particular, DU will conduct online examinations for final year undergraduate and postgraduate students between August 10th to 31st. This is including School of Open Learning and Non-Collegiate Women's Education Board. This will be an open book examination. Students who are unable to appear for exams in August will get another chance. Mock tests will take place ahead of final examination. So today we'll deliberate on this broader theme, higher education in the new normal. And three eminent guests are joining me for this discussion. Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Professor E. Suresh Kumar, Vice Chancellor, English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. Also, Dr. Geeta Bhatt, Director, Non-Collegiate Women's Education Board, Delhi University. A warm welcome to all three of you. Professor Jagdish Kumar, if I can come to you to first understand the kind of impact that this pandemic has had on the higher education in the country. Broadly, how do you see the impact in these months, sir?
Well, initially when we were getting to know about the coronavirus, I don't think anybody expected the extent to which it can cause the damage, and especially the higher educational institutes. But what has happened is the higher educational institutes have quickly assessed the situation, and they have tried to continue the teaching learning processes using alternative modes of instruction. So I think both the teachers and the students, they have made use of the available digital resources and then continue the teaching learning process. So in that context, let me also tell you that, see, we need to look at the bigger picture. If you look at the All India Survey on Higher Education, you find that there are nearly 900 universities and 40,000 colleges. And in these colleges and universities, we have close to about 3.7 crore students registered. And nearly about 1/5 of them are terminal students. That is, those students who have to complete their degree program and move on in their life, either take up a job or join in higher studies. So during this pandemic situation, our main concern is to see how these terminal students can complete their academic requirements so that they obtain their degrees and move forward. So most of the universities are doing their best to use either online mode or offline mode following all the COVID-19 guidelines, or even a mixed mode kind of evaluation. And to a larger extent, the universities have succeeded in conducting these end semester examinations, and many universities are planning to complete them by about August second week or so. So I see that although it is difficult situation, we need to find a pragmatic way, a practical way of completing the academic session so that the student's future is not affected.
Right. Dr. Geeta Bhatt, if I can bring you in, ma'am, how do you evaluate the impact of the pandemic? And as Professor Kumar just mentioned, how significant is the digital medium, the online medium, to ensure continuity of learning as far as higher education is concerned?
Shubhenduji, because of Corona, the way we live, the way we eat, the way we teach, everything has completely changed. And it is very true that in any education system where teaching, learning and evaluation, which are all three integral parts of an education system, if any one of them misses, that is the education system in itself, it becomes incomplete. So as Jagdish ji also mentioned just now, it was something, this situation came without any warning bells. And because of this, any kind of disaster preparedness per se was not present with the university. But the universities and the teaching community, I think they came forward taking this as a challenge. And there were many teachers who may not have been earlier much apprised about the different information and communication tools, ICT tools, which are available for, teaching learning boards. But they took, they walked that extra mile to actually educate themselves, learn these tools themselves, and went ahead and took the classes. I come from University of Delhi, so I of teachers. They could manage to take their online classes in the university and take it forward. Also, if you look at the, all over India scenario, and in terms of education and in terms of taking of an examination, the University Grant Commission, which actually looks after all the higher education institutions, they 755 have already given their response, where 200 have already conducted their examination, and the rest of them, they have already submitted that they are ready to conduct the examination, either in online mode or offline mode or a blended mode. So this has been taken up as these present circumstances have been taken up as a challenge by the teaching community, the higher education institutions, and the whole motive is to safeguard our students and to complete their teaching, learning, evaluation process at the same time. I think these are the two major objectives in front of every institution.
Right. Professor Suresh Kumar, your perspective on as a nation in the higher education sector, how equipped are we as a whole to make this crucial transition to online education? We'll also talk about online examination in the discussion ahead, but what is your evaluation of your own institution, also the overall higher education sector, vis-a-vis infrastructure, the students' perspective, the institution's perspective? How do you view it?
In fact, when you take the example of our own university, that is the English and Foreign Language University, which is popularly known as AFLU, we conducted the examinations by 2nd June and we declared the results on 2nd July. Examinations were conducted online. Initially, there was a lot of resistance from the students. When we announced on 15th March that face-to-face mode of teaching is replaced by online teaching from 19th March. There's a lot of discussion between students, council, and the university authorities. I tried to convince them through our administrative offices, and I myself spoke to them personally. I convinced them, and by 18th March, all the students left the campus, except a few foreign students. And from 19th March onwards, we conducted online classes. When we started the online classes, there were some email complaints stating that they don't have internet connectivity. It's a genuine problem. We can understand that. It's not possible that all the 100% students will have access to all the facilities. Ours is a country with heterogeneous groups. I'm sure each individual has got his or her own problem. In spite of that, we try to make the things in a relaxed way. We told them that it's not going to be a very tough job. And all of us are passing through the same pandemic. It's not that teachers are in relaxed condition and only students have the problem. Everybody, from Prime Minister to the peon, everyone has the same problem. In spite of that, the life should go on. We simply can't say just because something bad is happening, we can't stop. We have to continue. Life should continue. The education system continue. The education should continue. Keeping that in mind, we conducted the examinations on time through online mode. The online, when we say, people think it is some kind of software and it's a bigger thing, and people say it's a hi-fi kind of thing which is not accessible. I don't agree to it. The UGC made it very clear that the examination system can be flexible. They reduced the time of the duration of the examination from 3 to 2 hours. And they also said it can be in a relaxed manner. And they also said it can be online, it could be offline, or it could be a blended one.
Right.
There is a lot of flexibility.
Let's also get a perspective from Professor Jagdish Kumar on that. Sir, your experience, JNU has a thriving students and teachers community. Your experience of engaging with them on the issue of online education and online examination, what were the key takeaways? What were the concerns, the genuine ones? And how do you plan to address them? Because there is a certain growing up that may be required both on the part of the students and teachers to adapt to the online setup fully.
Most of the schools, about 10 schools, have already adopted the online mode of examination. The remaining 3 schools, they are working on the modalities of conducting the online examinations. And about 4 special centers, they have already conducted their online examinations. There is an overwhelming response from the students and the teachers to use the alternate mode of examinations and make sure that the students complete their academic requirements. You see, there is the issue of credibility of the degrees. These are passing out students. They are not continuing students who can come later and then take the examinations. These are passing out students. We also have to see the credibility of the degree that we are giving, because these students may apply for higher education elsewhere. They may get into a job. So therefore, cancellation of exams is just not a solution at all. But let me also point out here, you see, India has more than 500 million smartphone users. As I mentioned initially during this discussion, we have only about 37 million students in the higher education sector. So it is safe to assume that if not a laptop, every student in the higher educational institutes has a smartphone or has access to a smartphone. And today technology has evolved so much that you can design your evaluations which can be taken even using a smartphone. So therefore, the argument that people do not have access to resources, therefore they cannot give the examinations, is something that we need to take with a pinch of salt. I agree. In some locations, there may not be good internet connectivity, but please bear in mind that even with a 2G connection, most smartphones will work. Right from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari, everybody should be able to use a smartphone, even using a 2G connection. Therefore, I don't really see a practical problem in using the online mode for conducting the evaluation.
Right. Dr. Geeta Bhatt, ma'am, on the same issue, the pandemic is a reality. Health, safety, these of students, teachers is of paramount importance. So a version and argument often comes, why have examinations right now? As Professor Jagdish Kumar was talking about the importance of conducting the examination on that, how crucial it is to continue with the academic cycle, switch to online examinations if we can't have the conventional offline examinations like we could earlier. How significant is this continuity in the academic calendar? Dr. Bhatt, if you could present your views on that.
I think what we have seen is that there has been, if you look at in terms of a viewpoint towards conducting of examination, you see why examinations are very important is because whenever our students across the world, if you look at the United Nations has come out with a report where it shows that most of the majority of the well-known universities, they have gone ahead for conducting of some examination, whether online, offline, or blended, for their students who are in the who are in the final semester. And why is it important is because you see they are either going to move forward in their professional life in terms of going for another higher education degree, or could go in for some placement. For example, in Delhi University Faculty of Management Studies, which is one of the most well-known management institutions in the country, they have already they had to go ahead and conduct their examination where their students had their placement letters. They would have lost their jobs. And also beyond that, it adds merit. The examination adds merit. It adds scholarship to the degree, which is something which will go a long way in the professional lives of these students.
So the emphasis that is made on examinations and online examinations at the heart of it is the welfare of the students, as you're saying.
Yes, it is very important. Although, in the UGC guidelines, very detailed standard operating procedure has already been given that even if one wants to conduct an offline exam, from detailing from disposing of masks to cleaning of staircases, everything, even the sitting arrangement, everything has been given. But a large amount of universities are going ahead with an online system. In Delhi University also, it is not, I will not say per se online, it is remotely controlled because you only need a connection for downloading the paper and uploading the answer sheets. Also, India is, one of the countries in the world which has the cheapest data connection price, which is about $0.26 per GB data, which is one of the lowest across the world for a 4G.
Right. And Dr. Bhatt, we also learned about open book, concept of open book examinations at Delhi University. How does that work, ma'am?
Right, that is what I was telling, that in open book examination, as the name suggests, and this is one form of examination which has been, there are large number of universities across the world who have opted for this mode of examinations during the time of pandemics, where a student can refer to their notes and books at the time of the exam being conducted. And here, only the internet connection is required for downloading, logging in, downloading your question paper, writing down your answers, and then after a given limited time, uploading. For uploading of the answer sheets, that is the time only you need an online connection. So per se it is not online, but you can say remotely controlled examination. And since the number of students in the universities who will be sitting for their final exam is more than 2 lakh, so it's a very large number, but it is a totally indigenous system which has been designed by the university. It has not been outsourced to anyone.
All right. Professor Suresh Kumar, if you look at the UGC guidelines that were issued for the conduct of examinations, how flexible are they as a university head? How do you see how flexible are they? How much freedom do they give to individual universities to adapt in the manner that they can? As Dr. Geeta Bhatt was also talking about, a sort of combination of offline and online, whatever works.
So when you take the case of the English and Foreign Language University, that is my university, we have given flexibility to the students for writing online examinations. Namely, they go for open book examination and dissertation. They also went for project. Even we gave the option of writing the examination through an email. And some of the students wrote with a pen, took a picture with their mobile, and they emailed it to us. We considered those things also. It was totally flexible. And even now, the University Grants Commission, time and again, has been making clear that the examination system should be held because it should have the credibility. As Professor Jagdish Kumar rightly mentioned, it's very important that it's not credibility for 1 year. It's a lifelong credibility. And if someone holds a degree in 2020, he is going to use it for the entire life. It's not just for 1 year. So it should be lifelong credibility. And also, it should be globally acceptable. It's not that we simply say, okay, COVID is there, therefore you just pass and your certificate is valid. It's not so. There should be global acceptability. And also when they go for admission and when they have to apply for some scholarship or fellowship or for some award or even for placements, definitely examination should be held, the evaluation should be done, some grading should be given, and that grading and the marks or percentage or whatever you call it is essential to determine the capability of a particular student. And when the UGC has given that kind of flexibility to write the examination in a way that is suitable for the university or college, I think students should make use of this opportunity and go ahead.
Right. Professor Jagdish Kumar, if I can come to you, sir. If you look at the trend globally, this pandemic has affected every country and by that logic, every educational institutions across the world. How are the leading institutions across the world dealing with this challenge when we talk about a combination of online education, online examination, offline, a combination of them both? Is that a trend across the world as well?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, most universities, the top universities in the world, they are conducting some kind of evaluation for the students before they are awarded the degrees. And I strongly believe that that is essential. Let me also add here that although we are using the word online exam, in reality, it is not a real-time exam. The student is sent the question paper through some mode, WhatsApp, email, whatever means that are available, and the student is given sufficient time, maybe half a day or 1 day or 2 days, depending on the university, and then the student sends back. Now, some people question, well, there is no invigilation, you are leaving it to the student to write, but this is where the creativity of the teachers comes. The teachers have to design the question papers in such a way that the student actually has to search for the information from different sources, synthesize that information and write it. And this is not something that we are doing right now, mind you. In many of the universities such as JNU or even in IIT systems and in some of the best universities in the country, we have adopted what is known as the continuous evaluation. And we don't evaluate the students just by the end semester exam. They are continuously evaluated, which involves assignments, take-home exams, seminars, writing reports, and so on. So therefore, in that context, I think in the present situation, the best we can do is give an exam to the students. And from the data that UGC has given today, nearly more than 75% of the universities have already either completed or they are completing their alternate mode of evaluation, and the remaining 25% of the universities are gearing up. But most importantly, UGC has given as a special case, if some students are unable to participate in this alternative exam, UGC has said whenever the students are able to come back to the university, they can take this exam and get evaluated. I don't think there can be any better flexible system than what UGC has suggested.
Right. Dr. Geeta Bhatt, if I can come to you, ma'am. If to talk about perception, there's been a perception traditionally that distance education, correspondence education, students who are not able to attend regular classes in institutions sometimes are not at par as far as excellence is concerned. But with online education, I'm using the term, although it has a wider connotation, when online education becomes a norm, do you see the advantage, the positive of it is that more students will be able to access quality education and more students will be at par with each other when online and digital platform classes become a reality on a large scale?
Yes, Shubhenduji, first of all, that there is no doubt that face-to-face teaching, which since time immemorial has been the way of imparting education, which today stands at a crossroads because of this pandemic. It had its own advantages, and that is something which definitely, the teaching community misses, because there you are able to connect to the students, your hand movements, you can grasp their attention, you have an eye contact, you come to know whether a student is actually attentive in the class or not. But nevertheless, because of these prevailing circumstances, the only alternative available at present is to move in some blended format or a total online format of classes. Now here I think that it has multiple number of advantages, because the student is in a position to actually, because these lectures, they are even if they are at present, they are remotely, they can connect even if they are at a distance. Secondly, they are able to there can be flexi timings, that if a student is not able to connect at a particular time, is able to listen to the lecture at whatever time it is convenient to him, and is able to rewind and again listen to a particular point not clear to him again and again, which one may miss when in a real time class you are there and trying to take notes. So these are the various advantages of an online platform, and there are various studies which have been conducted by universities abroad, which show that the students are able to fare better in online classes than in offline. There are some universities who have come out with this data also. So keeping all these things in mind, yes, online education has its own advantages, and the best suitable part would be to blend it, because in an offline environment, because the kind of the peer environment which you get, the kind of learning which you have when you are face to face with people, you are working in a community, you are working within your peer group. So those learnings itself contribute a lot in doing personality development of a student. But in the present circumstances, I think going forward, most of the universities would like to look forward to a blended form, where some kind of a combination, where safeguarding the students' health, maintaining social distance, as well as looking after their teaching and learning, all these together can be combined, for which the blended system would be the best suited. And this has been suggested by the University Grant Commission also in its previous guideline.
I would like to give one live example how the situation would be. In 1969, there was a huge agitation in the United Andhra Pradesh for a separate Telangana state. Right now, I'm in Telangana state, but in 1969, there was an agitation for the statehood of Telangana.
Right.
At that point of time, there was an issue of examinations, and so many things happened. And later on, maybe in 1970 or later on, some of the private companies, when they gave for job notifications, they used to mention in bold, graduates of 1969 need not apply. That was the situation. And when we take the analogy, if 2020 batch, if they brand it as COVID batch or 2020 COVID batch, then in case they don't write exams and still they get their degrees, then after 5 years or 10 years, people would say it is a COVID batch which did not take the examination, they just got degrees just like that.
Right, and there, Professor Jagdish Kumar, your final thoughts. What will it take for this digital platform for online education to succeed in the country, both from the perspective of the institution and the students?
One, of course, we need to create the digital resources, but MHRD and UGC have done significant work in that area. We have created SWAYAM platform, and we have several MOOCs courses already available, and many universities are creating those digital resources. The second one is the training of the teachers. Many universities such as JNU have conducted a series of webinars to thousands of teachers across the country in using these digital platforms. So both are required. The ability to use the digital platforms and the availability of the digital resources, which both of which are happening. But most importantly, I would like to tell the students that as a university, as academic administrators, the foremost thought in our minds is their welfare, and we will do everything possible to make sure that their teaching learning processes, they are not affected, and they will gain sufficient knowledge and skills as part of this teaching learning process so that they can complete their academic programs.
Right. On that note, let me thank all three of you, Professor Jagdish Kumar, Professor Suresh Kumar, Dr. Geeta Bhatt, for joining us for this engaging discussion on higher education in the new normal. Best wishes for the days ahead for your institutions. Thank you very much. And with that, we conclude this special presentation. Those were some of the crucial themes that we discussed that higher education in India will have to consider going forward in the new normal. With that, we conclude this program. News and updates continue after a short break. Namaskar.
हिंदुस्तान एक ऐसा मुल्क है, अनेक प्रकार के लोग रहते हैं, बहुत से अलग अलग मजहब है, अलग अलग जाति है और अलग अलग हमारा पोशाक है, अलग अलग हमारी जबान है। ऐसा कोई मुल्क दुनिया में नहीं है